Yo, what's up, y'all? You back on with King Los on Los Legends 44. It's Friday, 16th January, 2026. I kind of wanted to touch base on a little, uh, not an issue, but just something that I've been wanting to speak about. And it's the 44 on my Los Legends 44 banner that you guys seen whenever you check it out. Um, the number 44 kept popping up and I didn't understand what it was. I had been told about angel numbers before, but I didn't know much about it. I just kind of brushed it off as I don't know about all this. You know what I mean? Like it's something that I wasn't too sure was legit or was wasn't, or I don't know, but it just kept popping up and popping up. Um, if it wasn't on the clock, 444, then it was just 44 in like basketball games and football games, the scores, things that I would buy, the price tag would be 44, something, caps, shirts, pants, shoes, like it was always that end number, signs on just speed limits, just so many things when I was reading verses in the Bible. 44 would always pop up. Um, and it came after somebody had told me about it, and I never really looked into it until, a while later. But it came along after I had a bunch of, drama and trauma in my life, and um, it just kept on popping up, man, popping up 1144, 444, 1044, 844. Um, all this other stuff that I would just always see, it would pop up everywhere. 44% on my phone. Um, just everywhere. So I started looking into it, and 44 was a very uh it's a good number. It's something that um defines and shows that your life is about to change. I believe I said that right. I might not have. I don't know. I'm not I'm not a dictionary, but I know that um when I started seeing it, that things were changing in my life. I noticed that um I noticed that it was a very powerful sign. I noticed that my life did start to change. I noticed that it was it symbolizes perseverance, and it symbolizes a new path, and it's something that you should really pay attention to. If you don't know about it, maybe you should look it up. It doesn't have to be that specific number. um 1111 is another one that pops up a lot, and it's something that shows that you either need to make a change or that your life is changing. My life began to change very much because I had gotten my GED, um, went through college after being told I was stupid my whole life, and being told that I was dumb and that I was an idiot, and that I had never learned anything, and that I'd always be just a drug addict and this and that. I got a 3.26 GPA. So don't tell me I'm stupid. I'm not stupid. I might not learn like everybody else, but they're definitely far from stupid. Um, so I thought that I thought that I was in control of my life. I thought that I was in control of my surroundings. I thought that I was in control of everything, and I really wasn't. I was lost. I was sick. I was very addicted, and a lot of people didn't want me around at the time. Um, I stole from my loved ones. I betrayed people. I uh, just got into so much crap because of my addiction and because of my alcoholism. Um, the more I wanted to mask and cover up my childhood trauma, the more it just kept surfacing and causing more and more problems, and I didn't know how to deal with it. Back in the day, we were meant to keep our mouth shut. We weren't supposed to talk about problems that we were having. We weren't supposed to say anything about anything that was going on. Um, Sweep a lot of things under the rug. We were meant to think like, if you have a problem and if you have an issue, then you deal with it. You deal with it head on. You don't go and tell anybody you're having these problems. You don't um, cry about it. You don't say anything about it. You don't show no emotions. And it was just a never ending cycle of, you know, hiding things and packing things down. I packed down a lot of the problems and emotions and feelings that I had as a kid because of what I went through as a young child. And people don't like to talk about it, and people kind of dismiss it, and they're ashamed to talk about it. But you don't have to be ashamed about what you went through. You don't have to be ashamed about things that happen, and because remember, you were just a kid. You were just a little child. And what are you supposed to do? I know in my situation, I was jumping from shelter to shelter with my family. We are homeless, and it's they try to deny it, but it was the truth. We were homeless. We were lost. We didn't have nowhere to go, so we ended up in shelters. In these shelters, there's other kids that have been abused. There's other kids that have been hurt, beaten, abandoned. There's just so many walks of life in these shelters, and this was back in the late '80s, early '90s, and I I was there with my mom, my older sister, and my brother. He passed away. My God, may God rest his soul. Um, we were there together, and there's a bunch of kids always playing all the time, and you know how kids are. They're always doing something they ain't supposed to be doing, or they're getting into something they're not supposed to, or just little things, and my mom was already going through a hard time, and there was these two older girls, and they were probably about 10 and 12 at the time. I was, I want to say I was about 6. And it started off playing. It started off, this and that, just little things. And I think you guys all know what this is leading to. They started molesting me. And they, what do you do when you're a 7-year-old kid or a 6-year-old kid? You're kind of lost. You're scared. You don't want to make a situation worse than it already is. And plus, you've been told all the time, and you see all the time, don't talk about this. Don't say anything that's gonna make you look bad. Don't say anything that's gonna make the family look bad. Don't talk about your problems. Just sweep it under the rug. Don't even you know keep it to yourself. So when you have an older person, even if it's a couple of years older than you, and they're telling you, you better not say anything, because if you do, then you're the one that's gonna get in trouble, not me. Because I'm gonna say that you're lying. I'm gonna say that you started everything. Me being scared and being a kid and not knowing what to do and not wanting to make the situation worse, because my mom was already trying to escape a situation that she was struggling in, and I didn't want her to go and get into a fight with people that she didn't even know, that we didn't even know, and that it was just going to make everything worse, because we would have gotten kicked out, or they would have gotten kicked out, or both of us, both families. So I kept it to myself, not knowing that it was gonna spiral me into a sex addiction when I was older. Um, Maybe if I would have known that it was gonna do that, maybe if I would have realized, but who does at 6 years old? Maybe if I would have realized that it was gonna turn me into what it turned me into later on in life, maybe I would have said something, but I didn't, and it kept me where I am now, and it made me learn and grow, but I also felt real ashamed. I felt embarrassed to say anything. So naturally, when got a little older and I started using drugs and drinking, um, that always would come up. It'd always be a thought in the back of my mind. Why didn't I say something? You know, why did I just let all this go on? And I just I didn't, I didn't have the courage to say anything. Number one, I was scared. Two, I was sick. Uh, I, I didn't want to make a situation worse. So I just packed it all down. That's very, very unhealthy for you, for anybody to do that. It's very unhealthy to pack something down, hide it, put it away. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. It's bad. You know, it's bad to to hide things like that. Um, like I said, it spiraled me into a sex addiction, spiraled me into drinking, and I started hooking up with women at a very young age, and it was me trying to fill a void in my life that I didn't know how to fill and how to fix it. And I'm the type of person that I like to fix things no matter what it is. You know, it could be the most horrible situation and I'll try to fix it. I'll do the best I can to you know, fix it. Um, I kept jumping from woman to woman. I kept just getting worse and worse and worse in my addiction. Um, and I never had no help. I never had nobody to talk to. I didn't want to talk to anybody in my family because I didn't want them knowing um, what I had gone through. Um, I was, we're a very prideful family. We're very, you know, not somebody that, you know, well, when I thought, as I thought as a kid, a family that was victimized, you know. Um, it was just, and I think that happened a lot in the 80s and 90s, and even before that. Um, there's a lot of people that would just hide issues that were, you know, going on in their family, and um, it was so unhealthy, and it was wrong, you know, for the older generation to have us do that, you know. Um, and it just, for me, it just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse because I started getting older. I started getting older. I started meeting more people, more people, more people, and I just kept hooking up with women, kept hooking up with women, kept hooking up with women. It was just getting worse. Um, so I never had a real relationship. All it was just hooking up, you know, one night stands, all that, whatever you want to call it. Um, I never had like a solid one to look at or to you know, use as guidance or anything like that. Like I would see people having good relationships, or so I thought. You know, I thought that it was I thought that it was a healthy relationship, and not, you never know what's going on in somebody else's relationship. You never know what's going on in somebody else's life, so you can't just automatically say, oh, they have a great relationship or they're happy. You know, you never know if somebody's happy or not. Um, you never know what that person's going through. It could be either side. It could be the man or the woman, whoever's having a hard time. It could be, you know, anybody can make your life hard. Um, so I was friends with somebody and jumped into a relationship with them, trying to do the best that I could, which I was a wreck. So that whole relationship just bombed, man. I mean, it just completely uh just was a complete train wreck. Me not knowing any better, I thought that I didn't see the problems. I was a horrible alcoholic. I kept digging into this person's past and, you know, making them feel guilty about it, and I was just being a dirtbag. And now that I think about it, um, even though before everything was set in stone, that person had cheated on me. So I didn't find out about it till 10 years later. You know, that's how long they let it go on before they said anything. And I don't blame them because I wasn't an easy person to talk to. And that spiraled me back into my stupid sex addiction. And I started doing the same thing uh, again that I had done when I was younger. Only this time I had a little bit more knowledge and I started hooking up with 2 and 3 women a day, every single day. You know, sometimes it was two, sometimes it was three, sometimes it was just one, but all night, you know what I mean? And, you know, it was just, I was a complete and utter mess. Um, I already have depression, anxiety, and PTSD. So I was trying to fill a void in my life because that person made me feel not good enough. Um, that person made me feel not good enough. And so I was trying to prove myself to myself. I was trying to prove, you know, you are good enough. You are enough. It wasn't you. It was them. Regardless of how anybody thinks about that or says about that, how do you take somebody telling you it wasn't you, it was me? We've all heard that before, you know, and it's what do you say to that? There's not much you can say to that, you know. It's just like, okay, well, obviously it was me that you didn't like, or me that, you know, you wanted to hurt. It wasn't, you know, that you weren't sure about yourself. And I mean, it doesn't make sense, so make it make sense. And another thing is too, like, honestly, you know, if I wasn't your first and only option, then I shouldn't have been an option at all, you know. Then you could have just told me a long time ago. We wouldn't have had to gone through everything that we went through. But honestly, being a man, I'm gonna take full responsibility for that relationship bombing, you know, because I I could totally see now that that I wasn't ready, you know. And maybe the other person wasn't either. But it was mainly my fault, and I take full responsibility for it. Um, excuse me, guys, for 1 second. Um, but that's not even really what I wanted to talk about. It was just, you know, something that came up right now. But um, I wanted to prove to myself that I was enough, and that I could bounce back. And I tried to bounce back in the wrong way. Like I said, I started sleeping around. I started using drugs again. I started trying to fill this void in my life that it was unfillable, you know. Um, and like I said before, you know, I feel very deeply. So when my heart breaks, or when something happens like that, like, I take it a whole different way. You know, I take it as um, I can't bounce back. You know, I'm hurt. I'm sad, and I'm showing it in all the wrong ways. Um, and I just didn't know how to fix that. So I got more into I stopped doing what I was doing because it was just out of control. Um, and I started staying away from everybody and kind of meditating and praying because I knew that, you know, I've always ran back to uh not my religion, not my spirituality, but my beliefs. I always ran back to that, and I knew that if I prayed, and then if I took the time to um speak with God, that he would show me some kind of guidance. And he really did. um and I just kept seeing the number 44 again. kept seeing it, kept seeing it, kept seeing it. After I graduated rehab, um, I kept seeing it, and my life has just gone in such a direction that I don't think anybody that knew me before would even think that my life was going to go in this direction. Um, I got so many things going for me. I got so many opportunities, and I really believe that God put those opportunities and everything in front of me. Um, but I know that I was being shown signs by this number, and it's crazy. I mean, if you guys want to take it, take the time and look them up. There's so many different things that it talks about. There's, the 44. It talks about 1111. It talks about just different numbers, and a lot of people think that certain numbers mean something, and they do, but they might think that they're something bad. It's really not bad. It's really not something that you need to be afraid of, or they're like, oh my gosh, the devil's after me or something like that. No, it's nothing like that. It's just it's something that all the angels around you are trying to show you that you're better than what everybody says. You're better than what um, everybody has always told you and said to you. And no matter if you think you're a failure, you're not. Trust me, you're not. You're a champion. You're a winner. And this is what this channel's all about, man. It's not about trying to make anybody feel bad or make anybody feel like a failure or anything like that. Because I've been there. I don't want to be called those things. I'm sure nobody else does either. So I'm gonna let you guys go with that. You guys go ahead and think about that. This is King Los on Los Legends. Hit me up, email me, whatever. I'm probably gonna put my phone number up. You guys need any kind of support or anything like that, just give me a call. Give me a call or hit me up on my Gmail. I'm open to anything, man. I want to help people better themselves. I want to help them get off the streets. I want to help them get their their medical insurance and all that. Try to get them into rehabs and like let's clean up the streets of Tucson, man. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean that in a bad way at all. But let's clean up the streets of Tucson. Help these people that are addicted and homeless. Try to get somewhere where they're safe. Try to get somewhere where they're not going to be hurt. Try to get somewhere where they can get the right and adequate medication. That's the only thing that I'm trying to work towards. I'm trying to work towards a stronger, more united Tucson. Feel me? Because we can do that. Shout out to the 520, man. Hit me up whenever you guys want. This King Los, Los Legends. Love you guys.